It's a Wednesday morning. We always look forward to talking sports medicine, and he's been together with us for over 25 years with great insight. It's my good friend, Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital. Good morning, Dr. Joe.
Thank you, Ray. Boy, I give thanks for having a friend like you, and it's great to get a chance to talk to you every week.
Hey, listen, you even put up with my golf game from time to time, too, so you have to be a good friend.
Thank you. We had a great time this year, and I wanted to just start out by talking about, of course, the terminology that's going around in Cleveland sports medicine circles that everybody's asking us about, because there's just it's shrouded in some mystery. Is a displaced glenoid fracture in the shoulder, somebody's specifically right shoulder, and that's Deshaun Watson. And yesterday I had the opportunity to talk to my orthopedic partners. I have 10 orthopedic partners right next door. I'm really blessed. Great team. Yesterday we had our annual Michigan-Ohio State fundraiser, by the way, and they were all together. That's why I was able to ask them the question. It's run by a great guy in town. I don't know if you know Dr. Mark Adamczyk. He's a great guy, and this is the 19th year that we raised funds for the Akron-Canton Food Bank, with who's going to win Michigan-Ohio State, and kind of bid up on that, and it's a great event. And I got a chance to talk to a few of my orthopedic partners about some of this mystery. So, displaced glenoid fracture. As I asked these orthopedists, and many of them well into their career, 10, 15, 20 years, how many have you seen in a career? All of them were less than 5. It's a very rare injury. And in looking it up, most of the literature says less than 10%. Some say as low as 1% of injuries to a shoulder would be to a displaced glenoid fracture. So not just a small fracture where the ball and socket is, where the socket of the ball and socket, a small fracture at the lip of that is pretty common. But actually breaking or displaced fracture of the glenoid, which is the entire bone where the socket sits, is really unusual. 1% to 5 to 7%, really, really low number. So, of course, that would happen here and be a strange situation for Cleveland fans. But 3 mysteries, Ray, that I was trying to answer by talking to my friends. Well, number one, my orthopedic friends. Number one, do you think at all with the problems in the relationship, is there any relationship to the shoulder injury earlier in the season? Never really seemed like we knew exactly what was going on. The 1 week in Indianapolis, Deshaun Watson really could not throw the ball well at all. Could there have been some sort of preloading injury that he had that led to this? And I know that the team has come out and said they didn't see anything. I know there were a lot of imaging tests and things. But just being around sports and things, I think there's a lot of us felt that probably was some injury to that shoulder that just was never really well understood that could have led to this type of injury, because it's very rare, this displaced glenoid fracture. So question number 2 was, there's these rumors going around on the outside about what do you think the outcome might be in those handful of cases you've seen. There's just not enough in the literature for me to go to research to point to that. But if, and they were going in, and this week we're told, going to fix it, if it's mainly a bony injury with the displaced glenoid fracture, most all of my orthopedic partners feel that when you put some screws and get that bone back to its normal shape, and bones heal very well, that it should really have a pretty good recovery, barring a significant injury to the labrum. So the question is, we don't know these things. Was there a significant injury to the labrum? Otherwise, they feel like the bone would probably heal pretty well. The third question was just it has me scratching my head, and I've been on the field, as you know, 36 years, seeing games and covering sporting events. How could he play such an amazing second half in the game against the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah.
We're all being told that he was injured in the first half, and they have looked at film as to when that might have occurred and all that. But this significant injury to the shoulder in the second half, that was one of the best second halves I've seen. I mean, 14 of 14, throwing the ball with precision and with tremendous accuracy and velocity. That was really a great job that he did against Baltimore's defense, one of the best in the league, top 2 or 3. Jim Harbaugh, who is known as a defensive specialist in Baltimore, really a head-scratcher to think that he could play that well with this fracture and then days later need to have surgery on it. We all know, though, those of us that have been on the field, kids do sometimes perform fantastic. And on Monday, we end up getting the testing, and we find out that they had a significant injury. So those things do occur. But especially with the shoulder, and especially how amazing that second half was, it's just one more mystery in a couple of the mysteries of the displaced glenoid fracture for Deshaun Watson that we had to talk about yesterday.
Joe, you often have talked in the past about socket injuries and fractures and breaks, and we've talked about the hip and we've talked about shoulders. Sometimes it's difficult for the blood to get into those areas, and it's ended some careers and it's made it difficult to heal from those type of fractures. Is this similar to those? And I know you don't have privy to the x-rays and that type of thing, but the history of this type of fracture, does it heal pretty well?
Well, you're exactly right. Is what's the size of the injury? We heard that it was pretty significantly displaced, and no question that it needed surgery. But as long as there's not a lot of other soft tissue damage where this bone fits the glenoid as the larger bone that contains the socket of the ball and socket, that's exactly what I was thinking, is that if they get it back into good position, which they should with surgery, most of my orthopedic partners and myself, I would believe that there'd be a really high chance and probability that he would heal pretty well with this injury. So particularly for this this area and getting in there and actually fixing it, and if they get the anatomy right and there's not a lot of other soft tissue injury, most of my orthopedic partners and myself feel that he has a pretty good chance, high probability of a successful healing.
That's terrific news. Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital. Joe, I have to ask, is the whole group, the Conginis, getting together this week?
You know what? I'd love to say yes. Everybody is in Ohio now, but my son and daughter-in-law are in the medical field, and unfortunately, if you're in the medical field, you have to work some holidays. And the holiday that my Columbus group, my ER doc and radiologist in Columbus, they have to work through the weekend. So we're going to miss Anthony and Carol and their 3 kids this week. So the rest of the whole group will be here in beautiful Akron, Ohio, and we'll be enjoying Thanksgiving weekend together. Thanks for asking, Ray.
Yeah, well, if you look at Section 21 in Parma on Friday night, that will be the Conginis for sure, rooting on the Hoban Knights. Joe, have a great Thanksgiving, my friend. Always appreciate our friendship and your insight and education with us. I'll talk to you again next week.
It's really a special gift to me to have a friend like you. Thanks, Ray.
There you go. Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital. He's joined us Wednesday mornings for over 25 years.